to make life feel less heavy. I think that's great. I think that's great. Meditation sound bowls. I like that. I like that. That can get me calm too. Parents will put on a beat, sometimes freestyle to get the stress out. I love doing that. I love doing that. Anything creative, like can kind of, I don't know, it's a way to channel the energy, get my ideas out, my thoughts out. If y'all do that too, I think that's incredible. And so for the ones that are just coming in right now, the question is, what do you do to feel human when life gets heavy? Because it gets heavy a lot. It gets heavy often. What do you do? And then I got another question for y'all, and then we're going to get started into the real stuff. Marina, you sleep for days? Wow. Wow, my body won't even allow me to do that. Like I get up, I don't even want to tell you how early I go to bed and how early I wake up because you'll make fun of me. I don't even want to say that, but sleeping isn't bad. Taking long walks is what I told people that's what I did for therapy, and they beat me up online, but that's all right. Taking long walks around the area where there's a body of water. So when you're journaling, I love that. I'm walking outside and I'll kind of just, sometimes if not a lot of people are out there, I'll talk under my breath, talk to myself, kind of get ideas and thoughts out. That'll help me make decisions on hard things. I like that. Y'all got great ideas. I love it. And so I got another question for you all so we can get started soon. Question number 2 is specifically for the people like me, right? When you have somebody in your life that's going through a lot and you're helping them, do you take the time to look at what you need? So what's something, and this is, you got to be honest, what is something that you've been needing lately that we can go ahead and get started? I'm so glad that you all have came to this live stream. It's been a minute since I've done it, but to anybody that's here, whether you're watching it live right now or you're watching it later, the whole concept and the reason why I'm doing this is because I am a person that is in love and married to somebody that does deal with mental illness. I am a partner. I'm a caregiver in that space at times. It makes for a very interesting relationship. And to anybody in a space like me, the question will come up, what am I doing for myself? LaGuardia, how are you taking care of yourself? And for other ones, I'm sure there's people who are caring for others, giving to others, but what is being done for you? Like, are you paying attention to yourself? I'm talking to y'all. I'm really talking to myself. And so before I do that and get deeper into that, I want to introduce somebody that can help me not feel completely alone in what I'm doing. Because you all said I need to see a therapist. I have a therapist here. I mean, y'all will probably tell me this don't count as therapy right now, but Kay is a longtime viewer, but she's also a therapist herself. And I don't even want to, I could go through the whole background, the bio. She's doing incredible things. I'm so glad to have her on. I'm going to give her a round of applause, and then she's going to properly introduce herself. Yeah. She should get a real applause. Y'all should be clapping at home too. The glasses are amazing. Yes, yes. All right, Kay.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. As you mentioned, I am a longtime supporter. I remember watching your videos when I was an undergrad about 8 years ago now, and personally struggling with my mental health and knowing I wanted to be a therapist, I wanted to be a psychologist, but kind of drowning. And your videos made me laugh watching Naeli and Amala. Just thank you for having me. Um, I guess
I
I'll take
appreciate it.
it.
I really, really appreciate that. Not just the fact that you've been watching and supporting for so long, but the fact that being silly and goofy online can draw quality people in. I had no idea. I had no idea that such good people would take the time and watch the silly, goofy things I was doing online. I had no idea, but I'm so grateful and happy about that. And what I'm curious about, because I know, and Lyric, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Um, and she's telling me what she does. She's still answering that first question. She does peer character dancing under a rain of confetti. And wait, what? What? That's wow. You're doing all that. Hey, appreciate that dance. That is so great. That is so great. I think that she's happy that I'm trying to get help in some way, right? So I'm gonna say this counts. It doesn't, but it does. And so I am proud that it could draw somebody like Kay. And Kay, my curiosity is coming from your standpoint, from somebody on the other side, purposely going to school, getting education to learn to be there for people in rough situations in their life. What do you think somebody in the position of caring for somebody else should be doing for themselves?
Whoa, let's jump right in.
I'm just going all the way in. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so much. I mean, we know why we're all here today to talk about going to therapy as someone who supports people who struggle with mental illness. And so I feel like that's the easy answer. Um, Therapy is a great benefit for people who struggle with mental illness, but it's also a great benefit for people who support those who struggle with mental illness. I remember watching the video that you got all the heat for. And you had mentioned, it was like a little 5-second clip. You had mentioned that sometimes you can't talk to the person closest to you if that person is also the person who's struggling. Sometimes the things that you're struggling with the most, they might not be in the mind state to be able to take that on. And so it's like, well, now who do you go to?
Right.
It's not quite the same as talking to a friend. It's not the same as talking to anyone else in your life. Having that one person that's close to you, when that person is missing, that's a significant loss that's felt. And so, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I recommend therapy, because it's a therapist's job to help support you through that and to give you that space to talk about all the things that you may not be able to voice, that you're just bottling up inside. When you keep that stuff inside, it starts to take a toll, and eventually you're no longer able to take care of yourself, let alone anyone else. So,
No, I completely agree with that. And I'm about to be honest. I'm gonna be very honest about you see, I'm looking at the camera in front of me because I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, right, I'm live. I don't have time to really sit and think and ponder on should I say, should I kind of have to do it because I'm here now. Uh I did go to couples counseling over 15 years ago. And I think an issue I can have is trust. And I will explain it like this because it had nothing to do with the counselor back then. But imagine this:
mhm.
you're going with your wife into counseling. It's the first couples counseling encounter you're having. Uh, you're there, you're listening, you're open, and the counselor's like, you know what? You all remind me of a couple. There's a couple that comes in. They're so much like you. You all should meet. You all should link up. You do that, and you see it too. You're like, wow, these people mirror exactly what I live. I mean, this may be a guy that I could finally have a friendship with so I could have somebody that relates to the position I'm in. So we began starting to meet with them outside. Listen, as a couple, it's incredible. When I get with dude alone, that's like I'm starting to share, like, yeah, you know, these struggles and those struggles, and how do you get through that? And his thing quickly turned into other women that he would look at on the side and fantasize about. And he was like, man, I don't know about you. I mean, I think that you should just leave. And that was the last conversation I had with that dude. And it put this weird thing in me, like, I don't really know who I should share this with because I'm not really playing games. Like, I'm here trying to figure out how to go the long haul. I don't need somebody coming in and being like, wow, that's a lot. Just drop that or make me deviate from what I'm trying to do. And it did put a bad taste in my mouth, but that wasn't the counselor. That I think hits on why there's only certain people I share this with. And I'll be real right now. There's not a whole lot of men in my life that I could just go and open up about this stuff. If you're not in the situation yourself, it's going to sound extreme. It's going to sound like, well, wow, what? That's just I don't know why you would. It is, you can't, I feel like it's hard to explain it to somebody that is not walking the same path and going towards the same goal. I would equate this to imagine being, I mean, we all know the in sickness and in health thing, right? But imagine being married to somebody who, I don't know, they're paralyzed. Their whole life changes. It deviates from everything that you originally thought, and now you got to restructure your life. Even though there's people like right now, if you see anybody like that, you always applaud the partner, like, wow, look at them sticking it through, going through all of that. But it's very rare that we kind of get into what is that like for the partner? What are they going through mentally to be there, to be the stabilizer in the relationship with all the changes that are happening? That's a hard spot. And I think that it has put this little resistance of just laying that all out in front of somebody that's not gonna kind of be on the same wavelength. That's where I've been. I don't think that's, I don't want to put all therapists in the same box because again, the experience I had, it wasn't the therapist, it was the people. And I think that I would love to have friends I could relate to in this space. That's something that's real. I don't know, y'all tell me, because I'm not gonna put this all on Kay. Like, Kay, tell me why I can't trust people. Like, I can't. It's not that, but it's. Have you all ever been in a situation where you wanted to trust, you did, and it backfired? Or is there any examples of what you had to do to find the right thing? Because people will also say, even in looking for a counselor or a therapist, that can take time. That's like building a relationship. It may not be the first one I talk to. So Faith is saying, and I'm just going to pull this up real quick. It's called the tree of trust, right? Leaves, people you can't trust, limbs, precarious, right? Twigs, you know how far you can push them before they push you, and roots or the ride or die. Um, can you, like, what is the process? And I'm going to put this on UK. For you, what do you believe is the process of finding the right therapist? And I'm even open to you, like you can kind of get into what your own journey has been to even want to step into this space and be an ear for other people.
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for sharing what you shared about your first experience with any kind of therapy. I find that to be a really interesting experience, and I completely understand why you would have that kind of reaction because it sounds like you were looking for, okay, I'm going to therapy. Now, my therapist has recommended that I talk to someone to understand, and you're hoping that will help you, feel some kind of relief or some kind of commiseration with someone else. And it sounds like it didn't go, it did not go that way.
No.
Most therapists, they're like giving confidentiality and things. I would say that most experiences won't be similar to that. You often don't find therapists recommending that you talk to other clients of theirs, but what you do find is they recommend perhaps support groups and help you get connected to those. But I guess going to your question about how to find a right therapist or the right therapist, and also like a little bit of my story. Um, I completely understand. There's so much, right? So much going into this of how do you go from having never been in therapy to, and also maybe, trust, and who wants to be telling all their business to a stranger? Like, I get that. Earlier in my mental health journey, I kind of felt the same way, even though I was a lot younger. So for me, I never had the privilege of not being acquainted with mental health or mental illness. I've had close loved ones, dear ones close to me, struggle with chronic mental illness, and so from a very young age, that was always kind of a part of my life. Um, and then when I started to exhibit symptoms of social anxiety that later turned into depression, that just kind of began to get away from me and spiral, and I started to struggle very badly. It was apparent that, okay, we need to do something. We need to go into therapy, and so I did. And I was young. I want to say my first therapy experience was when I was 16. Um, didn't leave an impact on me at all. Then I went to college, struggled a lot. College is hard. A lot of college kids struggle with their mental health. And I started to go to therapy more consistently then, and I had a range of therapists. Some who I connected with, others who I did not, and I didn't feel that trust. I didn't feel that, rapport. Like, this is someone who understands me, and this is someone who I feel like I can trust with my, most personal, vulnerable stuff. But what I will say is my first experiences, and I'm black, you're black. And so mental health in the Black community is its own thing. But my first experiences were with white therapists. And so there was an extra layer of, not only am I new to therapy, but also I don't necessarily feel the same kinship with this person that I would with someone who looks like me and speaks like me. And so later in my mental health journey, I started to find therapists who looked like me and spoke like me, Black women, Black men sometimes. And that kind of helped with um, feeling safe to trust people with, something, this burden that you're carrying or that we might be carrying. In terms of finding the right therapist, let me think about that
No,
one.
I know. That is a big one. That
Because
is
I
a
have
big
a lot of tips, but I
one.
want to organize them in my brain before I
No,
share
no,
them
no.
with people.
That is just fine. What I want to do too is there are so many different avenues to take this, and I want to open it up for people that have specific questions or things that they want to share. Because I'm seeing stuff in the comments as I'm listening to, and it really does seem like you all have similar experiences. You all have tried to trust folks, but you all have good therapy experiences too. So I'm very curious. Yeah, experiences you all can share and questions that you may have. Um, Kitty, only because you're the last one, I'm putting you up here, even though I saw what you said. I saw what you said about stop making this about me and all of that stuff. And I'm going to let that slide because I am a good person. And so support groups are amazing. Groups are comprised of people who have the same circumstances. I do agree with that. Um, and I want to bring up the last thing you said. I really try not to be leaning into negative stuff, but it just be grabbing me. So, Kitty, I'm going to pull out what you said because I'm such a petty person. So please stop making this about you. If you really want to help yourself and your wife, you will stop making excuses about why you won't seek help. I want you to look at me, right? Um, I'm doing a video about getting help. I'm opening up. So what that means is that other people get to see that and think to themselves, maybe I should reach out too. I'm being honest about an experience that you don't know the details of. And that's okay because I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we can be open. But this, I think everybody individually in their bubble in the world, you have to make it about yourself if you can ever see the things that you need. I've made stuff about other people for a long time, and that can easily make you invisible to the things that really you need to do for yourself. And I think that this conversation is about truly looking at myself in the mirror and being honest about the things that I need while I help and love other people. And so I will continue to make it about me. So thank you for that comment. And yeah, I have no problem with that. Now, this one says, I am the person that will mask my mental health diagnosis as much as possible, and I am constantly drained and burnt out. Finding support is difficult. Um,
Yes, it is. And I feel for you, Leilani. I hope it's Leilani. I
yes.
feel for you.
So I wonder, like, what is, I guess, what is the best advice to somebody that really is struggling with it and is trying to mask it, trying not to let it bubble out and show itself, what's the best advice for somebody in that spot?
I feel like all signs point back to therapy.
Yeah, it's real. It's real.
We
Yeah.
can talk about the therapy of it all, of course, but also the masking. And I
Yeah.
fully understand the masking as someone who struggled with social anxiety and who forever, as I was struggling with all the things I was struggling with, tried to put on that perfect face, still do everything to the best of my ability so no one can tell. And I just suffered. I suffered more. And when I stopped suffering was when or when I started suffering less was when I started to be open and be honest. And that's why what LaGuardia is doing and what you've been doing for years is so important. Even like I remember watching you talk about what Leah faced like when I was younger and not seeing anyone talk about or any black women talk about what they were dealing with. And that made me feel one, like I wasn't alone. And then two, like, well, if they can kind of talk about this, maybe I can talk about this with my friend. Or maybe I can talk about this. Eventually, I created a blog where now I talk about fashion and mental health, my own journey, and also just insights and things that might be helpful for other people. And I found that that kind of took a little bit of a weight off because when you keep it all inside, and this is a therapy thing, when you keep it all inside, it just builds and it builds and it builds. Letting things out is very therapeutic and very helpful. Um, so therapy, if you can, and I will share some resources for finding therapists towards the end. Um, and in the meantime, find someone. Oh, sorry, I looked at the comment. In the meantime,
Oh,
find
listen,
find
I'm looking too. Yes, yes.
someone or somewhere that you can speak about what you're going through and be honest and be open and be yourself about it because
Right.
it's not
Absolutely.
shameful. It's not shameful.
No, you were so right. And Lilani, and I'm hoping I'm saying that right too. She's saying, I really need help because I was let go at a job recently for taking 2 days for mental health and being new at the job. Mental health inclusion does not exist a lot in jobs, unfortunately. Something that I could even say, which I think is rough, is even for Leah, like since this was, I mean, we're going back. I've known Leah for too long. So the whole beginning of her journey was, I don't really know if you have anything. Like, as you're going to seek help, it's already hard enough to get people to believe it. Like, that's what she was going through. If we go back over 15 years ago, 20 years ago, like really in the beginning of everything, trying to
Mm-hmm.
explain it. And so now we are only just beginning, from what I'm seeing, to be in a place where jobs will recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
There's people when things are not seen, like if you can't walk into a job and say, see, my arm is broken. If you try to explain or use your words to talk, it is it is so unfortunate that things are the way that they are. But I think that doing that's I have so many thoughts on the system itself when it comes to mental health care and just society at large. I think it's really hard to get people to understand what they haven't been through themselves.
Yes.
Um, and I would love for there to be more understanding at a workplace. And I don't even want to say the words. We just got to fight more to make sure that our voices are it's it's so rough because I think specifically when it comes to mental illness, like I've shared this with my wife too. It seems like you got to have all this strength and mental fortitude to like push into the things you need. It's amazing because that's the very area where the injury is or the struggle is. And
Yes, this is so true. I feel the exact same way. So much of the system requires that you can take the initiative to go get the care that you need. But if you're suffering or struggling with depression, severe anxiety, schizophrenia, whatever it is, you're impaired to the point where you can't do that. And if you don't have, support, if you don't have that support person, whether that's a spouse or a friend or a daughter, or a sister or a brother, then you're absolutely right. People do fall through the cracks, and it's very sad.
That's
And I
real.
hope we can change that. But again, like bringing awareness and attention and doing things like this and us talking openly about it. When I graduate, the world will be my oyster. I hope that I can advocate and I can find ways to make the system better. One small change at a time, as well as the rest of my colleagues in this field.
But I think
And
that's great.
late individual people too can contribute to that.
Now, I'm gonna pull this one up too, and I promise I'm not. Well, let me just see. I want to see this. My situation is only different, and it's a husband with PTSD that is so mentally draining, because being his wife. Okay, um, Maureen, I want to kind of ask you a little bit about this. And I sure am not a therapist, right? So I mean, you don't. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable or call you out, but thank you so much for sharing that. Do you have people that you're able to talk to? Do you have a therapist? Do you seek help for yourself? What has been your approach to all of this? Because I know that's a lot. I know that's a lot. So I'm very curious for you, because PTSD is still a mental health concern. So I really am curious, what you do. Yeah, who do you reach out to?
Mhm.
Um,
And
and
I
I think
appreciate your oh, I'm so sorry, LaGuardia.
no, you yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say I appreciate your vulnerability because you were kind of speaking to earlier, LaGuardia, about how everyone looks at the caretaker, the support person, as like the hero. And like, wow, look at you. This is amazing. This is so great. You're so selfless. And so I would imagine, or I can imagine, I can understand because I've been there too, that you might feel maybe a little bit of guilt to ever say anything that would indicate that it's hard or it's not always, heroic. It's challenging and it's not easy. It's not pretty. But there's no shame in that either. That's the reality of it. So I just think it's very brave of you and of everyone here who's sharing these things to be able to talk about the hard parts. This is what destigmatizes it.
No, I think so too. I think that this is great. And this is me. Like, I'm saying that I may be contradicting myself because, again, I haven't been to therapy by myself. I've been to a lot of co-therapy sessions. I've sat in on other sessions my wife has been in. I've been in a psychiatrist's office. I've been through the whole roller coaster ride of making sure that I was there to be present for the things that she needed. Um, but let me see. I think there is a follow up, Maureen. So I'm gonna read this. Um, you see, I have it for my boys, but it's hard as a wife to find someone who is not going through similar with ease of praise or thinking, why the heck are you in this relationship? I get what you mean, right? Like, I can get that it's hard to share it with other people without them thinking and saying, like, well, why are you even in that? Why would you put yourself there? Why would it's now you're kind of digging into the same fear I've had to share with certain people, because if they're not going through it, then they're not going to understand. And I think that even in spite of that, I feel like the message is still, when we know there's something we need, therapy is, I don't know how to escape it now. Like, I get the idea that a therapist can be impartial.
Yeah,
It's not a member of your family that's going to judge you. I wanted to say, and it was earlier, some years back, it was a financial thing too. Like, oh man, and then what's going to be covered by the insurance? And then what's going to happen here? And what's going to do this? And my wife just last week signed on with a therapist, and it's virtual, and her copay is $1. One
amazing.
$1. So when she said that, that was really the trigger for me to make the first video about this stuff, because I was like, I ran out of excuses. Like, if she's doing that, Anna's from home, and I mean, I could at least try it. And so I may have to make a community of people where it's like, hey, if you do it, I'll do it. We may have to hold each other accountable and see, because it can't, at this point, it can't hurt. Look, we done, I mean, what, it can't hurt. It
And
can't
it's
hurt.
Men's Mental Health Month. And
Yeah.
so just wanted to bring that into the room. And you being a man talking about this, how many other men might be watching this and thinking the same thing? How many other men could you get to be your accountability buddies for your therapeutic journey? Like, I love that. I love the thought of that.
No, I love that. Love that too. I love the comment. The name is wild, but I love this comment. Yes, $1 copay took away all of my excuses, and things are changing. Right, like you can do that from your phone. I mean, I know my wife has done that for a while, but I've always, which is real, I used to see therapy as, oh, well, that's like a doctor's appointment. That's like going to the hospital or the emergency room. If you get injured, if something really goes wrong, that's when you go. I've never seen it as a preventative or let me do that just to like stay okay or stay good. I always saw it as like, no, only when things are really, really bad. And since that's for my wife, I'm gonna just keep that for her. And then I'll be good because what she's going through is so much worse. And it makes me want to bring up a post that I should have saved this so I could show it to y'all right here. But on my Patreon, I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm just gonna have to make it up because I'm live, right? So on Patreon, there's somebody that I was asking, like, what is your different form of therapy? This person said, and her name is Amber. She said that helping other people, which sounds amazing, right? She works, and this is me not having the quote right next to me. So when she's on this live and she's gonna look at me and roll her eyes, but I'm just gonna say she works in a hospital. She cares for a variety of people, and she said service and feeling of value. That is her form of therapy. And I was like, wow, that's great. Uh, who's able to serve you? And then that's when the doors opened up and it was like, I don't really have that. I don't really have people looking out for me the same way because other people's needs are more important. They're going through more than I go through. So I'm just there for them because they don't have anybody. So I have to kind of put myself aside. But sometimes I do a little self-care when I have time. And she said it more eloquently than that, but exactly what she said resonated with me because I many times have been in the spot of, I mean, well, she's going through it though. I mean, I mean, I don't know what that's like. Like she's dealing with it to this level, so she's the priority, and then I'll get to me when I get to me. And I think that for a caregiver, that can be a hard spot to pull yourself out of because you will keep making that excuse. You'll keep saying that
Mm-hmm.
and feel like there's never really time to kind of look out for yourself completely. And so, even with my means of therapy, I listed those things do help. Going to the gym and going on walks and talking and riding, all that stuff helps. But the fact that I made the video, y'all know it gets to levels where I'm like, oh shoot, this ain't really fixing everything. And then I think, especially when you want to talk things out and you're like, oops, I triggered something, should have kept my mouth shut. Yeah. And especially if I'm making the excuse too of, well, I can't trust it with everybody. Can't talk to my wife about it all the time. I gotta get it out somehow. So here I am
I mean,
talking. Yeah.
even that mindset is something that will be addressed in therapy because you can see, and as you just got into, you can see how slippery of a slope that is and how harmful that ends up being over time, real quick. So
100%.
even that even just that thought alone, I would say go to therapy and talk about that. I know there's even more stuff that we've been getting into that absolutely need that support. And I've heard other people, I've heard clients, I've heard parents of clients, because I work with children currently, friends, family, you name it. I've heard so many people have this understanding of, well, therapy is only for people who have a mental illness, or it's only for people who are going through something extreme, like loss of a loved one. But I think it's a common misconception. Therapy is for everyone. Therapy benefits everyone. Whether you're someone who has a diagnosed mental illness or you're going through something temporary in life, like a major move or a loss of a job, or you just want to, there's something about you that you're not satisfied with. Maybe you're not happy with the way that you react to the people in your life. Maybe you don't take criticism well. That's not a mental illness, but that's still something that you can get help with. Um, yeah.
No, I think it's like having to rethink our whole approach to this, right?
Yeah.
Um, which I don't even know how you do it because it's not. I mean, as you said, as you broke down, like it's for everybody. I think
Yes.
that is the message. It is for everybody in the same way that the gym is for everybody. Eating
Yes.
healthy can be for everybody. It's not like you only eat healthy and go to the gym if you're close to your deathbed. Like you don't have to wait until the
Yes.
doctor's like, listen, if you don't do something, you don't have much time left. Uh,
Yes.
or
Exactly. Because in the same way that if you don't do something, you don't have much time left, it works the same way with our minds. These, maybe, not the best thoughts. You might have, the errant, like, well, she's struggling so much, so she's the priority and my needs don't matter. But over time, if you think that for long enough, you believe that for long enough, you start to neglect yourself for long enough, you can develop mental illness. Because and that's another thing too, is it could be any of us. It could be any of us. Any of us could experience a depressive episode or anxiety. Another thing is that we all do experience these emotions to some degree, some more than others. And that's when we're talking about mental illness. Everyone gets depressed sometimes, everyone gets sad, everyone feels anxious. Everyone, these are natural human experiences. And that's what therapy is about, is helping us process these natural human experiences in a safe, judgment free environment and just helping us be the selves that we want to be.
no, true. And I mean, even though this is kind of, I'm not even asking you to repeat exactly what you said, but I guess distinguishing which I should know and people should know the difference between doing therapeutic and self-care activities and going to talk to a therapist, like the difference between what you can get out of each of those things.
Yes. And I was reading the comments, and you got some real knowledgeable, smart warriors in your comments. They
Yeah.
got it. I
Yeah.
was like, I would have said that. I would have said that. I
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
said that
Yeah.
too. But no, they're absolutely right that all of those things are therapeutic. All of those things are self care. All of those things are things I would tell my clients to do. Those are things that I do. But they're not the same as therapy, because therapy is a specific evidence-based process that helps you unravel, whether it's patterns of thoughts, maybe it's emotions, maybe it's behaviors. That's completely different from going to therapy. I mean, even what you had said earlier in this conversation, you had said, yeah, I go to the gym, but this isn't solving everything. The gym, keeps you physically fit, and yet there's a mental component to that too.
Of course.
But the gym doesn't help you work out whatever problems in your mind you're going over and over again. The gym won't. The gym.
I know.
Losing my train of thought, but the gym is the gym. The gym is not therapy. The
Yeah.
same. The same with friends. Like, friends serve you should be able to vent to your friends. Your friends can give you advice. Your friends give you support, love. Therapists are not friends. It's a different process. It's not even about giving you advice or telling you what you need to do with your life, but it's helping you make sense of what's in your brain, because you know what is best for you, and we're just that support. It's very different from a friend,
So
and
you,
it'll feel
yeah.
very different from talking to a friend.
Yes. Um, something I guess that we could end on is which is a hard one. It's like how do you answer this question from Ruby, right? Affordable quality therapy isn't available for the masses, and that's real. And what's available to me with this insurance is still having to pay for the insurance. And it's like if you're not insured, and I can tell y'all I've been in that spot,
Mhm.
and I've seen what it can lend to. Like I've seen my wife be in a line and look like cattle and just this long line of people trying to go to this one guy, and you sit down and he's not looking you in the eye, and he's like, okay, your name is this, and then you tell me about this and this and that. Okay, this and that. Next, like I've seen that people crowded in a place because you're just trying to get what you can afford. Um,
Mhm.
it's rough. It's
Mhm.
rough. I wish that there was an answer to that, but then that ends up getting into a discussion about the system overall and why things do need to change. There needs to be access. I can let you talk to that too. Yeah.
Things do need to change on a mass scale, absolutely. And things are starting to change on a smaller scale, like today, like now. Something that I remember seeing in one of the comments, that I want to make sure everyone like is aware of, is that there are sliding scale options. So there are a lot of therapists who we're aware of how terrible the system is, and so we want to do our part. And so there are a lot of therapists who offer sliding scale, and what that means is your pay is going to be based on what you can afford, and it does not require insurance. There are, ways that you can search online and find those options. That's one thing. Another thing is going to university. So I'm a university student. I'm currently a doctoral student, pursuing my doctorate in clinical psychology. And so at many universities, there's other doctoral students or master's students who are training. And so whatever fees you're going to pay there are going to be greatly reduced because you're understanding you're getting a trainee therapist. You're not getting a licensed therapist or a licensed psychologist.
Right.
There are some options out there. I know that it can feel very, because I've been in that boat, finding my own therapist, finding other for therapists for the people that I support in my life, and it can feel overwhelming, and it can feel, sometimes you can feel like you hit a wall. Um, but I encourage everyone to push through, and I do want to share some of that information. And also encourage anyone, if they're having trouble finding those affordable options, I'm happy to talk to a few people and help kind of connect, because I've done this in the past as well.
No, that would be great. And then even after this stream, if you leave any of that in the comments, Kay, I will
Okay.
definitely pin that to the top.
Okay,
Any
great.
resources, any help that people can get. Um, and I know I said that was going to be the last thing, but then these two people, there's two, right? So there's the issue in the black church, which I know, the divide between faith and psychology, and
Yes.
then EB has one which is real, uh, AI,
Yes.
right? Like, yes, be careful using Chat GPT for therapy, but there's other things out there. There's other AIs that claim to be able to work as that, and it's
Yeah.
we're getting into a new space, right? And this can make for other longer conversations, but I'm gonna go back here though. I'm gonna go back to the faith one. Man, how
Yeah.
did it? Yes, yes,
I was just thinking about this earlier today. Yes, she clocked it. She hit the nail on the head. A lot of there's a lot of reasons why in the Black community mental health and mental illness is stigmatized, and people don't seek the care that they need, and they don't receive the care that they need. And I think that the role of religion, for the Black community, specifically Christianity or other denominations of Christianity, um, with that comes this kind of old school attitude of, well, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and also a kind of, I'll start with that one. The I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I always wondered about this. Why would that not include going to therapy?
right,
Why would that
right,
not be one of the things that Christ can strengthen you to do? I always wondered about that. Another thing that I find interesting is that there are Christian counselors, and there are religious counselors, and there are therapists and counselors who aren't Christian counselors, but they specialize in working with people whose faith is a major part of their life. And so that doesn't have to be a barrier for people to get access to the care that is the right fit for them too. Because I fully get it. You don't, if you're a very religious person and faith is a huge part of your life, you do need to work with someone who understands that. And there are people who understand that. So that
yes,
would be another misconception that, we can kind of talk about.
yes. And I don't want to. I don't want to stop anybody from going to get help and therapy.
Mhm.
Um, when you bring Christianity in, it just makes for such a interesting, nuanced, layered, sometimes mess is what I'm gonna say. Mainly because
Mhm.
the mind, because it's coming from the mind, it becomes the most complicated illness to work through as a Christian because where does faith come from, right? Where does a lot of the spiritual energy and belief, like when you bring it to people, it's like, well, I don't see the energy. Like, why don't you, you know what? That's a spirit. You need to go somebody that can cast that thing out, or you need to do this, or you need to believe more. Why you sad? Don't you know what Christ did? And don't you know there's layers in that? And I won't do it all on this live, but ooh, we've been to Christian counselors. Let me tell you, that alone is a journey because I think that, and hope, I know things change over time too, but there's a good amount that boy, they can be wrong. They can be very, very wrong. So you go in, I'm going in with my wife, and we just start to talk, and it's like, so this could be either clinical or it could be your own sin.
Interesting.
This is wild. Now, this is still going back years, right? But
Right.
there can be a difference between based on the church you go to. Are you going to a counselor at your church? Are you going to a licensed counselor outside? Are you going to, like,
Yeah.
there's levels to it because I've also had a Christian counselor that was great. I mean, she was the one that recommended us to go see that couple that wasn't, but she was good herself. But I mean, all of this kind of gets into the thing of technically there's no perfect people anyway, and even as you go out to look for a counselor, if the first one you get is not the right fit, it's
Yes.
okay to move on to the next one. And I'm saying that as a person who has yet to start, but I've been around it enough to know
Mhm.
that there are great ones out there, and I don't want that to push anybody away or hold folks back, but it's very interesting out there.
Yes, and you have a lot of autonomy in what who you get to work with. And I know it can be intimidating if you've never been to therapy. Say you find somewhere where there's a lot of therapists and they just match you with one. And maybe you might feel like, oh, I guess I have to work with this person. You don't.
Right?
You don't. There's been times when I've met a therapist and left after the first session because it was clear to me in the first session, this ain't
Yeah.
gonna work.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine. And we are you don't have to worry about hurting feelings. You don't have to worry about, well, is the next therapist not going to be able to is the next therapist gonna, judge me because I left the last one at this practice? Like, no. Like prioritize you and what you need, please.
Yes. Yes. No, I'm with that. And so this is the last question. I'm gonna pass this to Kay because I
Okay.
think that you could definitely answer this one.
Hi, Tori. So Tori said, could you please clarify the distinctions between counselors and therapists to assist us in making an informed decision? So I'd say the difference between counselors and therapists is counseling is a slightly different kind of model where that's even more equipped to help people who are dealing with everyday kind of life stuff, things that are not clinically significant or what we would call things that you'd be diagnosed with. Again, therapy is beneficial for everyone, but counseling even more so is
Mm.
definitely much more open for everyone. So I would say that's one of the distinctions.
I never knew that, Kay. I never knew that.
Yeah. There's a lot. We
Okay,
could be
interesting. I
a
never knew
whole
that.
series. Yeah,
I didn't know that was just interchanging words. I'm like therapy, counselor. I had no idea.
not always the
Okay.
same. Tori is very knowledgeable. I know Tori personally, and she can speak a little bit more to that if she'd like to as well.
Oh, Tori is somebody that you know.
Yes, we're
Good.
actually in the same
Good.
graduate program. She's a
Ah.
therapist. So,
All right, Tori. Thank you. Thank
mhm.
you for that. Yeah, clarifying question because I'm here just
Mhm.
throwing them words around with no clue. So that is what's funny about that is that knowledge feels better,
Really?
right? I did, but because it gives me a distinction, right? Like it's like
Mhm.
somebody telling you, you don't have to go to the emergency room. You could just go see a doctor.
Right.
Or you could just go to Walgreens, or you could just go like that's
Right.
seeing it in levels. I never knew that. So getting a counselor, it's like, hey, listen, you're not going, it's not you. Yeah, that's just that little piece of knowledge is like, oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, that is a nice kind of entry door, a nice way for for people like me, right? To be like, listen, 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 calm down, start here.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, counselors are also able to help with more clinical type challenges, and therapists also help with more everyday things as well.
right.
But it's just like a little kind of distinction. But absolutely,
Yes.
yeah,
And what Leilani is saying too, hey, I did learn early on about a psychologist, though. I did because of medications. I did learn that because there is a lot of terms: psychologist, therapist, psychotherapist, dit, dit, bop, boop, but there's so many terms. All I knew was about. Uh, I think I was calling them all counselors, but then I knew when you go to the psychologist, they're prescribing the medications.
psychiatrist.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Psychiatrist. You see, don't even listen to me, man. Don't
it's
even listen. I'm
confusing.
not the no, I'm not the one. I haven't even been don't just gonna zip that.
It's okay. It's
That's
confusing.
why we have K here, right?
I
Because I
only
be
know
here
those
like,
that
listen, y'all need to go see. I don't know what I would have said. Have
have.
you all at a gas station talking to somebody you're not supposed to be talking to. Yep. But that
It's
medicine man, yes, yes,
good.
medicine
I
management.
mean, a lot of psychiatrists also will talk to you, but it's not going to be the same thing as seeing a therapist. And
Of
so it's
course.
recommended that if you are taking medication for any mental health challenges, you also see a therapist because
Yeah.
that changes your brain chemistry. That helps balance things out, like biologically, but it doesn't change your thought process or things like that.
Yes. Yes. And so Kay, thank you again for joining this live. Thank
This
you
is
for adding some truth here so I'm not just here leading people the wrong way.
I'm
I
happy.
really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me, and I will go ahead and drop those resources in the chat.
Well, thank you so much. And to everybody that tuned in, thank you for being here. And are there any final thoughts, Kay?
Any final thoughts from me?
Yes,
Um, None of us are broken. None of us need to be fixed. There's no shame in what any of us go through. These are all natural human experiences. Supporters need support too.
I like that.
Therapy is for everyone.
Therapy is for everyone. That's my takeaway from this.
Mhm.
I'm definitely going to take that. And yes, I will say hi to Amala, Nayeli, and Leah, who, listen, Amala and Nayeli would never be on a call, not a call, but never on a live like this. So thank you for letting me do adult content too, because we need to be able to have conversations like this. But make sure you check the chat. Um, and you can check out Patreon. I didn't make a slide for that, but patreon.com/LaGuardia Cross. That's really where I want to start pulling in some of y'all to do some like live call-ins and just start building. We're at the beginning of this, but I want to do some more conversations that dig deep into the things that we usually don't discuss, but we need to. So thank you for being here, and I will see y'all online soon. And y'all won't be beating me up anymore because I'll maybe soon be able to tell y'all I did something. So thank you again. Thank you, Kay. We will see
Right.
y'all soon.